And I would invite you to say thanks to Beth. I mean, she just came and said, I would like to do this. And I'm like, okay, this is good. This morning we are in the Gospel of John, on the 17th chapter, almost to the end, well, 3/4 of the way through the chapter of John 17. Jesus says, I am not praying for them, but also for those who believe in me because of their word. I pray they will be one, Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. I pray that they will also be in us so that the world will believe that you sent me. I've given them the glory that you gave me so that they can be one just as we are one. I'm in them and you are in me so that they will be made perfectly one. Then the world will know that you sent me and that you have loved me, just loved them just as you loved me. Father, I want those who you gave to me to be with me where I am. Then they can see my glory, which you gave me, because you loved me before the creation of the world. Righteous Father, even the world didn't know you, but I've known you. And these believers know that you sent me. I've made your name known to them and will continue to make it known so that your love for me will be in them, and I myself will be in them. These are the words of God for us this morning. Just the other day, after I was less than pleasant, we went to visit a friend, a longtime friend. And as the conversation moved past the immediate of how's your family doing and whatnot, I picked up my embroidery because the conversation moved into the reminiscence. Do you remember the time do you remember the day all things that happened long before I was in the story? Remember when we and the laughter and the changes and the joy and the other friends, they were wondering what happened to so-and-so and whatnot. And I wonder how they are and on how much things had changed in the last few years. Let's just put it that way. It was fun to hear the stories. And it was fun to see the good love between two friends who, as strange as it might seem, did not remember exactly the same thing. Right? They remember. Do you remember when and a story would begin and the other would look with that perplexed look like, I should know, I was there? Was that before or after we did the get it in context? And I'm not sure. And so the stories, even though they were a long time ago, I found it interesting that the memories that each had of the exact same event were selective and different. And yet those stories, the pieces that were shared and could be remembered with a little bit of a help, were stories that shaped both of these people into who they are today. Those stories have carried them for decades in mutual relationship, love, and friendship. And the end result of all those stories, remembered and those not so well remembered, is love, a deep and abiding love for each other. And that will not change. And I say this story, share this story, because this, I think, is how the gospel messages have come to us. Friends sharing stories of Jesus that shaped them into who they are and who they have become. Some stories held in one heart and other stories held in another. The story shared and valued and remembered. Was that before or after he? Kind of questions asked by the different communities. So our gospels have many stories. Some are in all four gospels. Some stories only in one. Some stories in 2 or 3, but not 4. Each gathering of the stories particular to the community that needed to hear them. Each community put the stories together of Jesus, remembered in ways that reflected their particular understandings of what an event meant for their community and what that community needed from Jesus to stay strong in their faith. An example, if you could believe me this, when did Jesus overturn the tables at the temple? During Holy Week, right? Because if Andrew were here, he would tell me right unequivocally during Holy Week, right? Unless you're reading the Gospel of John. If you're reading the Gospel of John, it happens in chapter 2. Right? Sarah's like, I didn't know that. So you've come to church to learn a thing or two, right? That's what we do together. We learn. And it's amazing that in John, it's in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. That's the beginning of chapter 1, the prologue, and then it talks about John the Baptist. She's checking it out. She's like, that's why we have pew Bibles. You can check your pastor, check it. And she's like, well, I didn't know. You might have read it, but you don't reflect on it, right? And so then it goes to the wedding at Cana. And Jesus says to his mom, Ma, it's not my time. And the next thing that happens, after the water is turned to wine, he goes to Jerusalem. And in that very story, in the Gospel of John, he overturns the tables then. And actually, in the Gospel of John, he'll go to Jerusalem 3 times. In the other Gospels, I'm pretty sure, Bob, you correct me if I'm wrong, he only goes once. It's like Mark, in the Gospel of Mark, they say it's the prologue and Holy Week. And so they do all the things and they get to Holy Week, right? In the Gospel of John, he goes 3 times, which is why some people believe he lived 3 years to celebrate or his ministry was 3 years long. He lived more than 3. His ministry was 3 years long because he celebrated the Passover 3 times during that time period, right? So you're like, didn't know that. What difference does it make? Well, I'm not sure what theological difference it makes, to be quite honest, but each gospel is a little different, and each give us a little more insight into the life and death and resurrection of Jesus. In the Gospel of John, the Last Supper is somewhat enfolded into what's called the Johannine Discourse. There you go. There's your phrase for the day, Johannine Discourse. Chapters 13, depending on how you want to cut it, 13 to 17. This time period where Jesus is in the Last Supper, it takes a lot longer in John than any of the other Gospels, because Jesus does this. He goes on and on and on and on. And what he does in those things is tells the disciples what he wants them to remember, the things that are really important. And you think, I don't know anything about the Johannine Discourse. I've never heard of that thing before, right? Have you ever heard of it? And no, you never heard of the, but have you ever heard, Robin, I am the vine and you are the branches? Oh, yes. Have you ever heard, I am the way and the truth and the life? Oh, yeah. Those are the things that Jesus says in that Johannine Discourse that goes on and on and on for chapter 13 and chapter 14 and chapter 15 and chapter 16. Until we get to 17. And chapter 17 begins with these words. When Jesus finished saying these things, he looked up to heaven and said, Father, the time has come. Remember when he said, Ma, my time has not come? The whole gospel story has come. And now he says to God, the time is here. The whole story is in between. Not my time, now my time, right? And what Jesus does in chapter 17 is called the high priestly prayer. He prays directly to God. He looks to heaven and says to God, I am praying. And who is he praying for? Jesus is praying for us. We just had a time where we pray to Jesus, right? Have you ever thought about Jesus praying for you? That you are the person that Jesus prays for. Jesus prays for us. He says, God, I have taken those you have given me and I have taught them and they received my teaching. I have loved them as I love you and you love me. I am praying for them. I'm leaving them. Protect them. Make them holy in truth. Your word is the truth, Lord. And then the verses we read today, I'm not praying only for them. Because of course he would be praying for his disciples. We didn't exist, right? But he says, so you imagine, okay, sure, he's praying for the guys that are hanging around with him, the folks that are gathered there in in Jerusalem with him. He says, I'm praying for them, but not only for them, but for those who believe in me because of their word. What the disciples will do after Jesus departs to heaven and is no longer physically with us, is they will tell the story, each in their own unique way, right? Whether it's the temple overturning in chapter 2 or chapter 15, the story will be told different, but it will be told. Now, why are you here? You are here because someone has told you the story. Someone has said to you, perhaps there is something about this Jesus that can matter. This prayer is prayed right before Jesus' arrest in the Gospel of John. Chapter 18, they come to arrest him. There's no take this cup away from me in the Gospel of John. It's I am praying for these people whom you gave me, whom I love. And Jesus asks in that prayer that they might be one. That the community of faithful believers who heard the word of God directly from the lips of Jesus, don't you wish you could have done that? To been there and hear the words directly from the lips of Jesus? And I have to say, yes, I would love to have been there. But I wonder if I would have been the one who listened or not. I don't know. Some people have said he's come again already, but I didn't hear it. So I always wonder about that. Would I have known it at the time? But now that I do know it, if I could go back in time, I would love to hear the words from the lips of Jesus, but I haven't figured out how to teleport through time yet. My children think I know everything about them, but I haven't done that one yet. But those who have heard it since, that all those who have heard the words of Jesus from his lips to the lips of others, to the others, to the others, to the others, that they might be one. Now, you and I are here in church, and we know this hasn't quite worked out for the church all that well over the years. How many denominations? In this room, how many of you were born and baptized in the United Church of Christ? Well, we have a handful. All right. How many of you were not born or baptized in the United Church of Christ? Yeah, about equal number, right? And how many were born and baptized in the Catholic faith? A handful. Methodist? Moravian, Baptist, Presbyterian, so all different kinds of denomination. And yet Jesus' prayer at the beginning was they might all be one. The oneness in Jesus is to be a unity, but unity is not to be uniformity. We're here in one congregation coming from many different foundations of faith, many different people who have told us the stories of faith that matter to us. So unity is not uniformity. Unity is both united and unique, united and connected to the unlimited, unrelenting love of God, not only for believers, but for the world. We're in the Gospel of John. I came for the salvation of the world. And that will be God's doing. The last I heard, we can't make that happen. Just in case you were wondering, why isn't the world saved yet, Pastor? You didn't make that happen yet. Yeah, I am not God, and neither are you. And God will do what God will do. But in the meantime, we are to love one another as Jesus loved and extend that love to all creation, the natural world and all the people too. And that's why we're here and who we are. My friends, Larry and his friends shared the story of their connections, of who they are. Those stories shaped who they are. They've known each other since they were tiny. Well, the stories of faith have shaped who we are, and how we live that out matters. People are watching, learning, and some, through our actions and attitudes, will become believers. Just so you know, you may be, you probably are, the only Bible some people will ever read. How's that feel? Daunting? You're like, oh, wait a minute. You may be the only Bible some people read. So what you do and how you follow Jesus with full confession of I did it wrong kind of thing too. We follow Jesus, and as followers are successors to the work of loving the world. Next week, in this space, the colors will be different, and 3 young men will confirm their faith because of what they have seen, because of what they have learned, because of what they have done with you. You are the Bible they read. You are the Bible that brings them to their faith, to just one point on their faith. And they could not, and I doubt would not, stand and profess their faith without having you witnessed your love of Jesus to them. We hear their profession of faith and we'll lay hands on them. And that laying hands will connect them generation to generation to generation to generation back to Jesus. Apostolic succession, they call that. Big term for lots and lots and lots of love. Their presence will increase the circle of faith, an ever expanding circle of faith. And if we stand in a circle, if we did that, well, we probably could this morning, all stood in a circle around the sanctuary in one body, one unit of things, we would all see or experience something different, right? If you're standing here and looking that way, you see down the hall. If you're standing on either side, you see the people, but beyond that, you see the stained glass windows. If you're in the back, you look up, you see the stained glass cross. You always will see something different. And what will be to your back? Something different than even the person standing right next to you. We don't all see or experience the same thing, even when we're in a circle together. But we can give thanks because there are people we know in that circle, and there are people for whom we are grateful there are name tags. Please wear your name tags. Because I have talked to you 85 times and I still don't know your name, right? So wear your name tags. But this is the way it is with the community of faith, that the church has been through the ages and struggle yet to stay united. We need to learn and perhaps constantly relearn that each person has value. Each person has a contribution to make. Each person experiences the same circleness, just a bit differently. And imagine if we took that circle of who was gathered here today and expanded it even more to all of those who had professed their faith at St. John's United Church of Christ, or St. John's Evangelical and Church before it became the United Church of Christ, since 1840, where it'll be 145 years in this community on December 21st of people professing their faith in this community. And each one of them, each generation, experiences something unique, and altogether, no generation can ever perceive the fullness of what God has for us. This is the unity we carry into the future. And that's what Jesus prays for us, that we might see ways to be united. Jesus prays for us, and to what end? That we might be united together, that we might be one, and that we will know Christ's joy. So as you live your life, remember, Jesus prays for you. Jesus prays for you. And through the actions of believers, the world will know God's love. We will remember stories in this place about S'more Love, about building this building, about the old church down the road, about the challenges the church has experienced. There's been a few, wouldn't you say, Mike? Just a few, right? And some of you have those stories. Some of us have stories about sandwich math that never works, or church spaghetti, or brat fries, or Sunday school lessons. You'll cherish cards sent, Bibles received, baptisms and funerals and weddings, and the brave words our confirmands will speak this next week. They are grateful, I think, Isaac, you're grateful, that you did not have to memorize. Talk to Mr. Beaumont about what he had to memorize here. A whole book of the Evangelical Catechism. I have it on my shelf. I do not make you memorize it. Chase, you glad about that? Yeah, right? But we will celebrate you and your faith, and as many others. And we'll remember stories. Each of you will remember different stories. Yet those stories will shape who we are as believers in the love of God, made known through the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. Jesus prays for you, that you and I and all might be one. Ah, what a challenge and a blessing. Amen.